Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the new and improved New Comic Book Day Book Club. My name's Alex, White Whale Comics, and with me, as always, he still hasn't given up. It's John's Comics for Kids. What's up, brother?
Living the Susan Speck life, and improved in the sense that we're doing fewer of them.
Improved for you guys. And it wouldn't be Wednesday anymore without hanging out with Jason from Comics Books Explained. What's up, man?
Hey, man. Thanks for having me.
Oh, it's a pleasure. The two other members of our Comic Core Wednesday crew, Bear Island doesn't buy new books anymore. He only reads Terrible Silver Age, makes fun of him on our other show, which is fine. So that's why he's not here. And Andy said that he needed a break from me after what I did to him on Saturday night on JP's channel. So
I think both are. I think that's a valid point, and I would just tell Bear Island, hey, collect your way, right? If hating on Silver Age gets you where you got to go.
I mean, it's gotten me this far.
Yeah. Hashtag Silver Age sucks.
Yeah.
Yes, I did.
What's up, Tony? Good to see Old Wolf and Comic Man Andy. Good to see you too. So this is going to be a little bit different, and we're kind of going to go through some growing pains, I'm sure, trying to figure this out. As I've said before, just for those of you who maybe didn't see, part of the reason why we're doing this is because of the inconsistency in shipping of books from Diamond. So my shop in particular has not been getting books on time for Wednesday a lot of weeks, which made it very frustrating for me to try to do a show where I needed to read a book that came out that day. So what we're trying to do is kind of like the first Wednesday of every month, we're going to do kind of a look back at the month previous, talk about some things that we've read, kind of focus on what we pick as kind of our favorite book of the month, and then kind of throw in some other books that we might have checked out and see what we thought of them. No Good Comics, what's up? I was just hanging out with him and John last night on No Good Comics channel talking about X-Men last night, and he also just dropped a video, an edited video, which is a teaser for a new show he's going to be doing, so check that out. Gore Vidal, always great to see you, man. TJ says, I just realized this was in place.
Jason and
I would be so happy.
We love Gore. Yeah, that wasn't even practice. That's how much we like Gore. We're just like,
we gave Gore 2 thumbs up. Just
Gore is a quality individual, very knowledgeable.
That was hilarious.
Always great to have him in the chat, see his opinions on things. Yeah, TJ, but the bad news is the next 3 weeks is going to be the other show.
Got to balance it out.
Yeah. So I guess, do you want to just jump right into, I think what we kind of all agree maybe is the favorite thing we read the last month?
I don't think it'll be the my book of the month, but it'll definitely be in like the top 3. Like it's definitely one of the best books of the month for sure. So the fact that it's your book of the month, yeah, let's start. Let's start right there.
I think, Jason, you just said it probably is yours too.
Yeah, I watched a video recently by Gore Vidal who reviewed Carmen, and he went in depth in it. Everyone check out Gore Vidal's video on Carmen. It's pristinely great.
Yeah, so I specifically avoided watching it before this show because I knew it would be more insightful and clearer and better than what I would have to say, and it would just discourage me. And I also didn't want to be like, oh yeah, well, did you know this? And I've already just stolen it from him.
Yeah.
What's up, man? If you want to jump on, let me know. I'll send you the link.
I don't know who this Chris Lopez is.
Yeah, Chris Lopez. I don't know, man.
Is it a panda head?
Yeah. Bunnies emojis in the chat, please. Bunny emojis in the chat.
I thought they were chains because my eyes are so bad.
So yeah, Carmen is very. I found it. Says I'm tucked nicely into bed.
I'm jealous, dude.
The first show you did with us, you literally went to the bathroom. So
yeah, In a panda
I don't think
costume.
that should stop you,
Don't forget the panda costume.
but no, stay comfy. We'll have you on anytime you want, whenever you're not as comfortable. Yeah, I mean, kind of an interesting. It's totally done by Gilliam March, written and illustrated by, and it's kind of like a take on Death, High Cost of Living in a way, I thought.
Totally.
Where, except for the fact that in Death, she is talking to somebody who's still alive, and in this case, it seems like she's talking to somebody who's already passed on. But there's a lot more to it than that, because I mean, so the character on the cover is Carmen, who is, as far as we know, an embodiment of death, maybe not the embodiment of death, but is some sort of reaper who is issuing or ushering souls to the next plane. And it focuses on a character who has apparently committed suicide. But this death character of Carmen is very kind of goofy and ball busting and like she farts a lot.
Definitely joking and a lot of times charismatic but whimsical, charming, but then like makes gross jokes too. I don't know. It's like you said, it's hard to picture. I don't think she's like the actual death, but like maybe just one of the versions of death or something, or a vehicle of one.
And she definitely has some sort of mystical powers, because she, when she shakes her hand, she kind of like sees her whole life, and even the roommate, she touches her on the head and can see like everything that happened.
She can change her face into a skull or whatever. Yeah. She can. She said that she was once tempted by a guy, whatever, that hit on her, and she's like, "Hey, we're only human, right?" So I don't know. I don't know what she is, but she's really cool. I like her.
So but the reason I say it's kind of unclear is because Carmen makes a few references to the fact that like it seems unclear as to what the purpose of her visit is. She doesn't just say like, "Hey, I'm here as your guide to bring you to the other side." She kind of just was like, "Hey, let's go for a walk." And
she definitely has an agenda that is unclear, because she seems to be manipulating the young lady to do certain things, giving her just enough information.
Well, she's certainly like pushing her to do things that are outside of her comfort zone. First and foremost being that when she dies, she is fully nude. Yeah. And she's like, "Just come on, walk outside. Nobody can see you. Who cares?"
Yeah, she's like, "Why don't you masturbate over everyone in the sky?"
Yeah.
But then she says, like, "Be careful, because if they touch
everybody from like..." What's that?
But she implies that like if anybody touches her, she'll be able to be seen again, which is I think a lie that she's using to manipulate her in some way. I just can't figure out what the point of the deception is.
Right, and can she be seen for a moment and only by that person? Like she never gives her the full story.
No, and I think it's a full lie that like she won't be seen. She'll go back to her body, and this whole game will be done.
And she also said she could talk to the old roommate as well. Like if you want to talk to her, and I was like, okay, that's kind of weird. And then also, I guess I mean, I'm sure this is all spoilers or whatever, but I mean, at the end, she's like, okay, well, you can. So something. She kind of says something like, you don't know how long you can do that for, and keep doing that. I'll be right back. I have to go.
How much time you'll have? How much time you have left? Basically.
Yeah, she's I have to go do something real quick. So I'm interested what issue 2 is going to be about, like her doing a side quest while the other girls finding more fantasy things to do. I don't know.
Yeah, so Carmen tells her like, oh, some people eventually can learn how to fly even, but it's not easy. You have to like trick your brain into doing it. And the deceased character kind of is like, oh, I used to be able to swim through the air in my dreams. Let me see if I can do that. And she just immediately learns how to fly.
Yeah.
And she's like, oh, that wasn't in the guidebook or whatever, or in your screening or something like that.
Yeah, it says something weird, but she also doesn't seem like, she seems like falsely impressed almost. And then she's like, okay, have fun flying, but like, you don't know how much time you have left. And then she's like, yeah, I have to go take care of something else. So it's obviously I like it because it doesn't like bash you over the head with about anything. It's very subtle and mysterious and kind of unclear, much like an actual conversation, or like, you know, not that this is an actual situation where
No, but it has the feel of honesty,
right
of
it's,
truth.
It's not like they. I don't want to say like talk like normal people talk because that's certainly not the case, but it is not this.
It doesn't feel phony or false.
Yeah,
in the way that they
it has a-
communicate with
it
one
has
another.
an air of truth to it.
Yeah. And I will say I definitely clicked on that, and I loved the art style. I think the art is really, really, really well done. I wanted to pose a question to you because I jumped into a stream the week it came out where two ladies were reviewing it, and they didn't like it. And their main hit against it was they felt like the writer used nudity like unnecessarily, and it was and they were like, I have no problem with nudity. They both are like, who cares if she's naked? The bigger issue was like the character feels uncomfortable with her nudity all through this. Like, what's the point of that? It felt, in their opinion, it felt like a book written and drawn by a guy.
I thought,
that like misogynistic kind of way.
I mean, there's the big difference between nudity and being naked. Like naked gives you that, you know, vulnerability, and that's what she was. And that little hint of fear, you know, that's in there. And when you're naked, as opposed to nudity, it's just for blatant whatever reason you
right.
may have. So there's a huge difference, and I think it worked out very well to have her be, you know.
Yeah,
like
it was interesting to see two women who read comics reviewing the book and having a very different reaction than I had had. It made me question my reaction a little bit, and I just wanted to pose it to you guys.
Yeah, I mean, I don't want to say that they're wrong because obviously they have a much different life experience than any of us being a bunch of straight dudes, but I feel like the nudity wasn't really ever sexualized.
No, it's not.
And it, much to Jason's point, you know, I feel like it. He used it to do that, to make the
character uncomfortable,
discomfort, and like to represent the discomfort of the whole situation through this thing that is very relatable to everybody. Like, even as a man, like walking around outside naked seems
concerning.
Yeah, but mostly for other people. In my case, but
so I mean, I just thought it was an interesting perspective that made me question a bit of which was great. Like I liked that there was a layer to it that I had not really been spotting right off the bat. And they made some interesting points of just about the way that it felt like the way a man would write it versus how a woman might have written the same sequence.
Did you ask how they would have written it? I was just curious.
Well, I think that their implication was that the nudity has to be like purposeful, and that it had a purpose maybe a little bit at the beginning, but then it was just like excessive, and they felt like, you know, it didn't.
She's supposed to like find ghost clothes.
Well, yeah, I mean, she kept saying how uncomfortable she was the whole entire time and how she wished she had clothes. Like, you know,
right.
So
it became like a thing.
Mm-hmm.
And it was like, well, then it's not really adding much to the story past a certain point. It was just interesting. And obviously, I know Gore's going to raise the idea of the fact that Gilliam March is a European, and the view of nudity being very different in Europe versus America. And I don't think that was really what their point was. Their point was like, not like, oh, people can't be naked. It was more like, but what's the point? Like past the first few moments when she's awkwardly, uncomfortably naked, like where does it go? Like at what point is it just like, okay, this like is a constant thing now that she's just naked through this whole thing now.
Yeah, I mean, I think even like Faithless, and I mean, I know that's very, very specifically sexualized nudity, but that is way more excessive than this.
Graphic for sure.
But not even just for the graphics point of it, because, you know, and I'm a fan of that book, and I think the nudity and the sexuality is used in a way that is beneficial to the story, but you could definitely make an argument that like it's excessive and that you don't need it to tell the same story. Where I feel like in this case, it was more about her character and her character's kind of reaction to the whole situation. As you know,
I appreciate you guys taking the time to. I mean, it's been stirring in my mind since I read it, and this is the first time I had a chance to get into it.
Yeah, I was just, I wish you would ask them what they would have done. Is just, I guess, just dress the girl. But then it gets like, what's the point, though? Like Gore Vidal brings out, it's like she now is experiencing a new phase in her life. It's like nudity no longer matters. Your clothes don't matter. In the spirit realm, it's just like it's another phase.
Well, I mean, and I don't want to get too existential about this, but of course I do. What am I talking about? Humans started wearing clothes for protection. Like the idea of nudity being a personal thing is totally constructed by society. So if she is slipping into this other plane of existence where the laws of humanity maybe don't exist as much, is that like a representation of her slipping away from herself because she suddenly doesn't care about being naked anymore?
Which is nice, and there's a fun existential element to that. But for me, the argument got a little interesting when it was like, okay, Carmen can put bandages on her.
Yeah.
Why can't she put clothes on her?
Yeah. I mean, I guess maybe she won't have like blood squirting everywhere, or like.
Honestly, my thought process was that the bandages were slowing her dying down long enough for Carmen to take her to do what she wants to do.
Right.
That's what I took that to mean.
Did she actually put bandages on her actual body?
Right. Yeah, that'd be cool.
I felt like she was just trying to slow her death down, so she's somewhere in between life and death, and then Carmen can use her for some ends.
Yeah.
Well, that's how I took it.
I will answer that question. No, she didn't, because there's
nothing on the actual body.
Bathroom, the actual body does not have bandages on it.
Right.
So forget what I just said.
It was interesting. It was an interesting debate. We can get back to the substance of the story if you want. I do feel like Carmen has a villain streak in her, or at least some other devious.
She's certainly mischievous.
Yeah, trickster, Loki-ish. Yeah.
If she's a villain, or it's like actually, if she's doing something more than being like a jokester, that's unclear. Like she very well just could be a bored ghost or a bored death dealer, or like whatever she is. She might just be messing around having fun because she's been alive for thousands of years and it's like, I'm sick of just doing this over and over and over again. I'm gonna just go have some fun with messing with people.
I definitely think her machinations have an intent to them. There's definitely some kind of plan going on there. I don't know.
Or is it like, this might be thinking too big
brained.
I don't want to say big brain because it's not, but like is it the sort of thing where she is gonna survive this attempt, and this is her way of convincing her that life is worth living, and that she, like, if she is a mythical or mystical being or a goddess or whatever, she would have some insight into what she would need, what Catalina would need to be convinced of this. And maybe she just needs someone who is like so unconcerned with what other people think, and that she'll like fart on the toilet in front of somebody else and talk about masturbating in front of a crowd.
I hope she's the good guy. I'd like to think right now she is. I mean, she's, I don't know. It could go either way, but I do really hope that she has good intentions. And at the end, I hope that the main character lives through all this, this experience. And it could be just all in her head, whatever. But like, it's all a dream in the end. But either way, just I'm along for the adventure of the roller coaster, man. The art was worth it alone, even if the story would have been bad. Just the panel layout and the transitions, like her going through the building, the apartment building and stuff, and outside. it's like ascending through the sky, like all the different
Yeah.
different art that you don't usually see in modern American comics. You know, it's just pure like European style, and it's just beautiful. It's great, refreshing.
Yeah, even though Carmen is this jokester and possibly up to no good, she definitely has a likable quality to her.
Yes.
I think a lot of times when you have these characters who are so confident in themselves and have so little care, it's like a common theme in a lot of stories where like a character comes in who's just like does not give two shits about what anybody else thinks of them. Like everyone wants to be like that. Like no one wants to worry about what other people think about them to their face or behind their back.
Yeah.
So when you see a character like this, there is this level of natural, for me at least, this natural draw to say like,
Sort of an envy.
like this attraction of saying like, oh, this is what I kind of aspire to, I guess.
Sure.
Gore Vidal brings out a good point. He says, Carmen, he thinks, is part of something bigger in the story where Catalina is just one of the characters she will touch. So it could be we won't even see this character again until maybe the end, you know, where everyone coalesces. The next chapter could just be Carmen's experience with another character and how that person died. It could be a car crash or who knows what, you know. So that'd be awesome to see like more people go through this death trip and what they do every adventure. Then maybe at the end, how many issues is this? Like 5 or 6? Maybe have them all at the
It's
end.
a mini,
grab
so
hands
yeah,
and fly away
like
together.
It doesn't
Yeah.
say on the cover, but
That'd be really
I mean,
cool to them all,
it is
yeah.
called Carmen, so clearly
Right.
it is
The main focus, yeah.
even if it doesn't split away from the two of them. Like clearly, it's for some reason, or to some point, I should say, about Carmen, or maybe that's a red herring. Who knows? I also found the little scene towards the beginning where they're walking out of the apartment. Well, the two scenes with the old neighbor, where Carmen is entering the building and sees the elderly neighbor taking out the trash,
Mhm.
and she's like, "Isn't it a bit early to take out the trash?" And she convinces the old lady.
Let's go back in.
It's unclear as if she sees her, but she walks through her,
Right.
and then the old lady turns back around, causing me to believe that she told her, like, "Oh, if you leave right now, you're gonna die."
Yeah.
Or at least suggest that. And then on the way out, they see her taking out the trash again, and Catalina's like, "Oh, that's the crazy cat lady." And Carmen says, "Well, she only has 3 cats, and they were her daughters who passed away 2 years ago. She's not crazy. She's just lonely." And Catalina's like, "Oh, now I feel really badly." And I think that was such a perfect little moment of like, we all do that. Maybe I'm just an asshole, but I feel like everybody does that. Where you jump to these conclusions. A lot of times they're negative about people when you don't know them. So I thought that was an interesting little, seemingly throwaway part, but like really added to the story for me and added to her character, both of their characters, really.
Yeah, that was great. Yeah, that's definitely one of my favorite parts as well.
It's a 5-part series. Just double check.
There you go. Yeah, I mean, this definitely felt like different. It's not like super European, right? But
No.
it had this feeling of something different than you see on the stands every month, both in how it was presented, as far as not just how it's drawn and colored, but the layout of the pages.
Yeah, the layouts
were very unique and interesting. And like even on the last page, there's that little like side shot of Carmen's head in a circle. But obviously the storytelling is, yeah, exactly. This, you know, we compare, especially nowadays, comics to movies a lot, just because everything that's like, you know,
a visual
comic book-
medium.
especially because like smaller publishers a lot of times are actually just making comics to try to get them optioned. Like that is why they publish comics. And so because so many things are getting turned into TV shows and movies, like we've kind of been you know,
Trained.
conditioned to look at these as movies. And besides the fact that a poor actress would have to be naked the whole time, this felt very much like a much more interesting movie than most of what you see coming out.
Yeah, it was very cinematic, but yeah, very, despite having this connection to the high cost of living, felt very original.
Yeah, I mean, the only connection is that there's this death character who is talking to a human who has kind of lost their way.
Right.
But beyond that, it does not feel like high cost of living at all to me. Because death and high cost of living is very, like, she's
very different,
but she's much more caring and like comforting, and she's a much cooler death than this death, who's just like a bit of a jerk. But no, it didn't feel like a film to me. I'm doing a terrible job explaining myself tonight. But.
No, I think what you were saying is that it just felt more original than the other things on the shelf these days.
Yeah.
I thought you were saying that, if you're going to have someone naked for a movie, it should be Danny DeVito. Right.
Well, I every night before I go to bed, I watch the scene from It's Always Sunny where he climbs out of the couch.
Yeah.
So good. So good. And always end on a high note there.
Yeah. so gnarly. But I mean, props to Danny DeVito. He fully commits to that role as Frank Reynolds.
Yes, he does. It's going to be his swan song.
One of the really, he's been a great actor for a long time, but that's really his greatest role, in my opinion. Or, both greatest and worst, depending on how you look at it.
Yeah, Gore Vidal said, Carmen is why the comics medium is so magical. It can do things film and prose can't do unless you're Fellini.
Yeah. And I've always said that about comics, is that why, if you're going to tell a comic book story, tell it because you can't tell it otherwise.
Yeah.
Like, you have nothing to restrict you except your ability to write and draw in a comic book. So you have no budget concerns, no location concerns. You can make it anything you want. And I say that, although Strangers in Paradise is one of my favorite comics, which basically is just a story about real life, but it's still, take the opportunity to do something like this, to tell this story that is totally fantastical yet totally about life and totally down to earth in a way. I don't know. I liked it, clearly. Which I know is unusual, and don't expect that this new format is going to be me talking about how much I love comic books now.
Well, I think it will definitely afford us the opportunity to highlight the stuff we're enjoying and not dwell on the stuff that we don't. So
yeah,
that is definitely one nice thing about it.
I'm going to take a dump on a book here in a minute that we're going to talk about.
Yeah, I mean, you're totally right, though. It is a rarity that we see this in American comics, and I really hope more people read this, and I'm glad we're shedding some light on there. For those who haven't checked it out yet, to please check it out. And if you like it, tell someone else about it.
Yeah, because I think we need more comics that kind of challenge our notions, both as comic fans and as humans. But that's because I'm a nihilist and an existential jerk bag.
Same.
Andy says, is Alec going to start loving Silver Age now?
Oh, no.
Did you want to show off your recent acquisition, speaking of Silver Age?
No, not right now. That's fine. Okay. I want to stick to the format.
No, I got the A cover. I think.
Yeah, I did not get the B cover, which I thought was cool, but I like this one a lot better.
Yeah, this is for me, cover of the year so far. But again, I'm so friggin' predictable. It's like minimalist
Yeah.
one character cover. It's like just right up my alley. So I feel like I'm unfair to judge that. Yeah, I mean, that's fair. Gore Vidal says it would be impossible to find an actress and director to capture Khonshu's smirks and tears like Moore can do in Stranger of Paradise. Yeah, I mean, he is a master of expression. I think like the breadth of the story would be very hard to capture. But, you know, it is just, at the end of the day, a story about people. I mean, they made a movie of Ghost World.
Yeah, who'd have thought they could pull that off?
Which is, you know, not
or American Splendor. I mean, I still think that's
not as great as the comic
book movies.
So yeah, do we want to give this a grade and then talk about some other stuff?
Yeah, I mean, I think I gave it a 9 or 9.5 out of 10 when I read it. I thought it was very high. I gave it a very high score.
Yeah, I give it like a solid 9 at least. I never thought about that. Yeah, I had a grade. I'm like, yeah, it's just really good.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'd recommend it, and I'd read it again too. Like I'd probably read it twice. You know.
Yeah, I read it twice because.
I think it's my third read.
I have apparently no memory anymore, and I read this like 2 or 3 days ago, and like I remembered what it was about, but when I was thinking about what to talk about tonight, I was like, oh, I don't remember the details enough at all. Let me reread this. So yeah, it definitely 9.2. I'm not going to go quite to 9.4 because I always have a hard time saying
because that's near mint.
It's near mint. I always have a hard time saying first issues are just like perfect because you know the next issue could be a total stinker, and that will. I mean, you know, as its own work, it stands on its own as one issue, but you know, as a series, it can really kind of sour the notes of the first issue if it doesn't hold up. So,
I just really think I think Gore's right though. I think second issue is probably going to be the same exact story like over again to an extent, but with a different character. You know, I really think it's going to be like someone else dying, like another journey. Like, you know, I really think that. I hope so. I mean, I hope it doesn't matter to me really, but
I feel like
whatever
if that is the case, they need to kind of come together somehow because.
Yeah,
there's no ending.
This does not resolve her character.
That's what I was saying. At the end, they probably got all coalesced as well. Maybe they all end up holding hands, going to the sky or something. You know, like who knows? But I'm excited for the rest. I'm going to read it all and pick up the hardcover whenever it comes out.
Yeah, it's going to be a real nice presentation as a single volume. Anyone want to talk about something in particular next?
I was going to do. I mean, you highlighted a book you loved, and that was a little out of the norm. I will say for me, like March was probably, and this is only stuff that maybe Jason and I can talk about, but I'm gonna say it was the month of DC for me. So like I loved Ram V's Swamp Thing. That issue 1 came out last month. Issue 2 came out today, and then Nightwing. So for me, like 2 of my favorite reads for the month were DC reads, and I would not have predicted that going in.
You know, I have this theory that, and I'm spoiling my own book, but that there are multiple dimensions, and we're constantly kind of slipping in between them because there's no other explanation for the fact that, like, if you told me 6 months ago that, hey, in March, John's favorite publisher is going to be DC and his favorite book is going to be by Tom Taylor, I would say there's 0% chance of that happening.
Bananas, right?
Yeah.
I really enjoyed Nightwing as well. I thought it was strange how, if you guys want to talk about Nightwing at all.
Yeah, I mean, if you've read it,
go ahead.
Yeah. I mean, I thought I really loved the use of Alfred's death and the letter. That sequence with Barbara was
great.
Beautifully handled. I like the little flashbacks, the way that kind of was woven in. It was a great little standalone issue. Like it worked really well for me.
Yeah, me too. I enjoyed it too. It's one of the few things I did actually want to read and did read. And it's probably the best Nightwing story we've had in a long time, in years, honestly. But what I found strange about, Alfred giving his money to Dick Grayson, he has a daughter. They also had 2 funerals for Alfred, in the past, one in private, one public. and she wasn't anywhere to be seen either. So he's like, "Fuck my daughter." Like,
Yeah,
I didn't even know Alfred had a kid, so that's shocking to me.
maybe he understood that he shouldn't be giving the money to his daughter because he's like, well, she's probably not going to show up for my funeral. So, and
I don't think like
Dick is more of a son to me than she's a daughter to me.
yeah,
That's
I don't
fair.
think Eddie Ryder remembered her either. There's like, yeah, who cares?
That's
so
hilarious.
Whatever.
Yeah,
But
I,
mean,
I never even knew he had a daughter. So there you go.
also with Tom Taylor, like he's got a way for making you care about something and taking it away from you. So I have a good suspicion. He's like, oh, here's a helpless 3-legged dog. Oh, guess what? You guys like her? We're gonna name her. We're gonna name her. You guys want to name her? Hey, cool. We have a fan voting name, contest. Oh, here's her new name. Oh, you like her so much? Oh, guess what? Like she's guaranteed this dog's gonna die. And I was
new
like,
bad guy killed her.
You
Yeah.
just know this dog's gonna die, and that was gonna go off or something. But like, he's set up for like a John Wick kind of thing. I guarantee it's gonna happen. Like, I just guarantee. I don't want to see any dog die, and that is a bummer. But like, I have a feeling it's gonna happen.
That's hilarious.
On it now.
A buddy of mine suggested that I do like a whole show on dog spec. Do like Nightwing, Pizza Dog, The Fix,
Crypto.
There was something else recently that I forget what he mentioned, but some other dog in a story. I thought that was kind of funny.
Absolutely. White whale dog spec.
Yeah.
If I still made videos, maybe it would happen.
But I also wanted to, Nightwing, I think was probably my favorite of the DC books, but I do think Swamp Thing deserves a lot of praise. And I don't know if Jason, if you read the first issue of Swamp Thing.
Didn't get to. I really want to because I enjoyed Ron V's Justice League Dark when he took over for
Oh, yeah, you said you were going to get the Future State ones he wrote.
Right, but even though they're different stories, different characters.
But I just thought it was a really cool. I had just read the first volume from Alan Moore in his Swamp. I've never read any Swamp Thing really before that. And just a month or so ago, I read that first saga of the Swamp Thing volume. And it certainly pays homage to that, but it's a very different story, a very original story. And I really like the way he does gothic horror. I actually almost like his style more than Alan Moore, and I'm a Moore fan. But I feel like Moore gets copied, and I felt like Ron V was going in a different direction. So
I really think he has like a true understanding of those darker characters like Swamp Thing and the Justice League Dark, the magic stuff, and I think he writes it really well from what I've seen, and I don't know, he seems like a good guy, and I want to read more of his stuff, and I'm totally glad there's a Swamp Thing comic still out, so I definitely want to support that.
I had a friend just get me the Savage Shores, which is the Vault comic that he wrote.
Oh, cool.
So this is Ram V's Vault book, Savage Shores, which is like an East India trading company meets vampires kind of thing.
Okay.
There's a really good
Love that.
it's like a second print variant, Tomb of Dracula homage cover.
Oh, really?
That series, yeah.
So I'm looking forward to reading that now that I'm into the Ram V universe a little bit. So anyways, I would say March for me was like an eye-opening DC kind of thing. And then today I had more, I think I had almost more DC than Marvel today. So
Alternate dimension.
I'm saying I've traveled through to the other side. So what's your dumpster fire book? Or wait, Jason, did you have a read of the month? Carmen is for you?
Oh yeah, probably Carmen. Yeah.
Okay.
Trying to see the picture you sent of ones. I'm pretty sure I read all of those that you sent over. Yeah, I read Alien, Scout's Honor, and Berserker as well.
So why, Alec? Where do you want to go next here with this?
Let's I don't know, go down the ladder instead of just jump into the basement. One thing that we didn't mention because I don't think you guys also read was Noctera.
Oh, it's right. I never read that. Yeah, I have.
I did read it. I got the jock.
You did?
I have that cover too. Yeah, I have that one too.
I liked it. Like it wasn't, on the level of Carmen as far as like how it makes you think or consider things, but it's just like a good sci-fi story that looks like it's going to turn into a bit of a traveling quest story, being chased by some bad guys, which I'm always for a little Lord of the Rings.
I didn't like it that much, although people are telling me the issue 2 that dropped today was really. Hey, he didn't buy it. Look at him.
I had to find it.
And also, like, very similar
Resident-
to the Carmen cover, where it's just like
one
figure
character.
in the middle.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah.
It felt a little Resident Evil to me, and
Yeah.
not in a really good way.
It's
Like
definitely
in one of the later movies kind of way.
it's definitely a popcorn story. It's not like it doesn't have big existential moments. It's just like, hey, here's this story about these creatures that live in this dark world that the Earth is turned into, and I don't know. I thought it was entertaining.
But where Carmen, I felt like had some really interesting characters. I felt like the female lead in this was like felt like a stereotype. Like she just felt like a cliche that had no real depth to her. So I was very turned off by that caricature.
I didn't read it, but did you guys feel like it was like a movie pitch?
Certainly.
Yeah.
But what book isn't these days?
So I am going to jump to the basement because
Okay.
the reason why I'm kind of saying that I liked this book and that I thought it was pretty good, and that is because I read it directly after I read Alien.
Oh, okay. I don't have that one. Hold on.
Which was everything that
Nice cover.
Noctera was not, which was not thoughtful, but on top of that, really boring.
Yeah, you didn't like it? I thought it was okay. I didn't hate it at all. Tell me why you didn't like it.
I'm so glad you didn't like it, because I've been like going into chat saying I didn't like it a lot, and people are like, "What is wrong with you, John? You're like DC now, and you're not liking Marvel books. Like, what's wrong with you, man?" And I was like, I just didn't care for it. So go ahead.
It felt like the first episode of a really bad cable TV show.
I'll go one step further. It reminded me of Jason X, the like Friday the 13th in space movie. That's so shitty.
I just want to see Space Marines fighting aliens. And again, you're doing a comic book. You have no budget. Do whatever you want. 90% of this book is about this dude dealing with his son and his psychology of his how much he's been damaged by his fight with the aliens. But you get 3 pages of aliens, and I know they're probably trying to build up something, but as a first issue, I just want to see Space Marines shooting aliens, man.
Yeah.
For me, I just wanted to like and be interested in the characters, and I thought they were so boring. I was like, I don't care about these people at all. I wanted looking for a Ripley, right? I was looking for.
There's no Ripley in the story.
No,
even in the original film, you could pick Ripley out of that crew, and be like, there's something different about her and the way she manages the problems that they come across. I love the dynamic,
The Ripley in this is going to be the dad. I'm pretty sure that the son, is like a revolutionary kind of, character. He's fighting against the man and the government and the business.
Yeah, I mean, clearly so what happens is there's this dad who comes back to Earth after being on the space station and dealing with the aliens. Well, we get a small flashback of that. And he's trying to reconnect with his son, who turns out to be this terrorist.
They try to make him like that. Yeah, for sure.
This extremist who's trying to steal this information from the company his dad worked for, and it ends with the son and his crew of other extremists on this space station trying to steal information. They were
murdering people too.
Yeah, straight up murdering people.
Yeah.
And they let the aliens out, and then I'm assuming the dad is going to then, despite his fears of having dealt with them before, travel back to the station to save the son and kill the aliens.
Yeah. But there was also a bunch of different aliens in there, right?
Yeah.
Different types. I thought that was interesting. There was one in a gas chamber and like a snake thing or something. There was all kinds of different variations depending on conditions. I think there was a fire one or something. I don't know, maybe I'm making that up, but I feel like there was different types of environmental aliens in the tubes that they had, which I thought was a pretty cool, different take. Yeah, I'm curious to see what kind of aliens we get to see.
It reminded me of the facility in Alien Resurrection, which I hated, and so reminding me of that was like, oh, okay, well.
but to John's point, if this character is supposed to be the Ripley of this story, they failed majorly because Ripley is not. He is flat as a board. There's nothing interesting about him at this point.
He's a company man, a general company man that happened to survive and just wants a relationship with his son. He's still by the book military and blank and boring. You know what I mean? A straight laced kind of guy.
Right.
really
It-
stoic.
It seems like this experience did not change him at all.
Right.
And the son feels like the blonde bimbo in the horror movie that goes like running in and
Yeah.
in the house when the bad guy's upstairs. It's
I
like,
don't want to listen, Dad, and like steal some like information.
again, it
from him.
reminded me
Yeah.
of cheap horror movies like Jason 10, where I'm just like, this
yeah.
is just movie. This book, I mean, just had characters behaving moronically.
I
And,
agree. I definitely stereotypical writing. I'm giving it a pass though, just for issue 2. I'm gonna give it like at least an arc, see where it goes. I do want to see these different kinds of alien creatures. Apparently, they're attacking everyone at the end of the issue, so we're gonna see some mayhem and carnage. Hopefully, in the next issue. If not, then
Right.
maybe I won't even read the 3rd issue. But I guarantee we're gonna see some action in the second one. So
I also Salvador LaRocca did the artwork, right? I've never
Yes.
really been a fan of his stuff, so that didn't
Didn't
like,
add anything.
Yeah, it's not like, oh, at least it looked awesome.
Right.
Noctera looked great. Tony Daniel crushed it.
yeah.
Much better than that issue of Batman that we talked about on the show that he did.
JP, you are
Yeah,
correct.
I agree with JP, but even Aliens, as good as it was, it's still like unnecessary. Aliens is
Unnecessary,
like,
but spectacular.
Yeah,
in
So-
every
we-
regard.
it's too like comedic and comedy. It's totally a good movie for like the time, but it is like it's really
See,
silly, man.
I
It's
think-
really silly.
Alien versus Aliens to me has always been horror versus action.
Mhm.
Like, Alien is a
yeah.
horror movie,
Right.
and it does that exceptionally. Aliens, if you're looking for more of the same thing, you will be sorely disappointed because it is an action movie. It is
Mm-hmm. But
not.
that has tons of corny lines and things as well. Like
For
like
sure. But
like
it's
the
James.
sequel.
It's James Cameron. Like that's what
Sure.
he does.
Yeah.
Um,
But it's like, it's like to give like a pass though to like corny lines and like characters doing stupid things, given a pass for a movie as opposed to a comic book. You know what I mean? Like this comic has some stupid character things, and Aliens, the sequel, does have some stupid character
I'm
things.
taking
that happen,
umbrage with
too.
like every comment of stupid lines in Aliens. I'm taking umbrage with it because honestly, there are moments in Aliens that are superior to me to Alien. When she wakes up in the bed and with Newt and the jars are on the floor and she's locked in that room. I mean, that is one of the scariest sequences in all those movies.
It's funny, like for me,
phenomenal.
I think it's like whoever was alive and lived during to see those in the theater at the time
Right.
always said that Aliens is the better movie. But for me, watching them like as a younger person
VHS
all in a
or
row,
whatever.
Alien-
watch them on
Alien
VHS,
is a more
and
complete
DVD.
movie.
Alien is the best one, and
For
but
sure.
everyone like I think like who lived it, who's like John, like around your age, a little older, just a little older than me. There's like Aliens is like the best one. I'm like,
Well,
nah, man.
I don't know that I can even pick a better best kind of thing, which to
It's
Alex's
different.
point,
Yeah,
like
it's different. Yeah.
they're different. I just feel like as far as like 80s action or whatever, I think it's just it's right up there with The Thing for me as far as like the top bar. Like it's just a phenomenal film.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
And you
To
look
me-
at everything that's come after it, it's just like such a debacle.
Oh yeah, so bad.
yeah,
I
for
think
sure. Yeah,
To,
Predator too.
like, oh yeah. As a kid, I think like a lot of people, probably myself included, kind of gravitated towards Aliens because it's more guns, more aliens, more
Faster.
fighting.
Yeah.
But as an adult, I recognize that Alien is just a more complete movie. And but the other thing, you talk about corny lines and stuff. I think that there's a difference between a movie being poorly written and a movie knowing what it's doing when it has corny lines. Like,
but I think
Fast
it's
and
James
Furious.
Cameron. Yeah, I guess. But then again, I think that's like a writer not knowing he's writing corny. I think just writing like a writer that just does what he does, but it's for a general audience and that people just accept it for what it is. There's a different kind of level of expectation, I think, going into it. And the writer not even trying to meet those expectations, really. It's just him being himself, as opposed to like the first Alien. And as opposed to this comic too, I think this comic, you're right. I feel like this comic is trying to be like maybe smart a little bit, but it's like not hitting those
it is
marks.
not at all.
Yeah.
But to JP's point, yes, the movies after Aliens are a
Atrocious.
sharp cliff.
Yeah.
I wouldn't say though that doesn't mean that there are still good stories to tell within this world. Like,
How do you guys feel? Because this is happening on Earth, right? In the comic.
Yes.
yeah,
How do you feel about
up
aliens
floating
ha-
above Earth.
Oh, okay. Because I was like,
the lab is up in
So
space.
the lab is in
okay,
space.
okay. Because I'm like, are they really going to
It's
have
in orbit.
aliens on Earth now, man? That's like the last place I wanted to see the aliens invade was Earth. You know what I mean? Like, I want to see aliens on the ship and other places. Like, once it hits like Earth, like it's over. You know, like I don't want to see that happen.
Obviously, this probably goes without saying, but a big part of why both of those movies work so well is because of the idea of in space, no one can hear you scream. Like you're stuck in this really
You're trapped.
confined
Yeah.
space station, and like you don't have anywhere to run.
And also, it's like, oh no, what if it gets to Earth? We're done. Like that. Also, that little thing at the end of it. You know, it's
Yeah.
just,
So if
I
it
don't-
gets to Earth, then
who cares? It's just, I don't want to see them fighting off aliens on Earth.
I also think Terminator 2 is better than Terminator 1.
Yes, I agree.
Factual. That is
But
factual.
Yeah.
a lot of people would, argue the opposite of that.
Yeah, you're right.
So that is why I think, thanks to Alien, Noctera seemed probably better than I would have normally liked it. But like it was just a fun, silly little comic about there wasn't much to it, like as far as below the surface, but it was just entertaining. It was just like a sci-fi movie.
Do we know anything else that Snyder is releasing through his Best Jacket publishing line? Because this is the first, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so I apparently he has a whole bunch of stuff lined up. I just didn't know
Right.
what other Best Jacket stuff
I
he
don't
has.
know if
I'm
he's
assuming it's a lot of
announced
collaborations and other people coming on board. So I just didn't know if you guys heard anything.
I'm assuming he means the comic.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Not the original film.
I'm leaving it open. I'm going to give it another shot. Beta Ray Bill, I heard was awesome. I heard that was a really, really good comic.
I've got.
I just heard the synopsis of what happened. I didn't get to read it.
I ended up when I went to my shop yesterday. I ended up grabbing this as well, just because I was like, "Hey, I missed it. Everybody said it was great, and it was a very entertaining read." So yes, Beta Ray
Daniel Warren
Bill.
Johnson, yeah, he's great.
I heard great things about his Wonder Woman Dead Earth, and I never read it.
I'd say it'll read very well in a trade, so that's a smart move. What's up to Perry? Thanks for lurking.
Yeah,
Can we talk about Berserker for a minute?
Yes. Would you like some making? Fuck Berserker.
it's called Berserker.
I'm curious what you guys think before I say what I think about it.
I don't like this book.
Yeah,
Is that enough? Did you need
I
more?
kind of
Sorry.
I'm feeling the same way. It's like the Old Guard, but with like only story on the last 2 pages.
Yeah.
You know, it's just like, okay, you can show how powerful and how someone is like so strong and get the gist of it in like 1 page or 2 pages. Like you don't have to drag it on for like 18 pages of him like punching people through the face and breaking their jaw. It's cool to see, but it's like you can do all those things on 1 or 2 pages and not see the same stuff over and over again. I don't know. Like it's clearly, we all know it was clearly made for a movie pitch, and it's surprised it's going to be a movie. And I'm going to watch the movie because it's going to be cool to see that happen. But it's like, am I interested in reading this comic any further than issue 1? Not really.
Yeah,
I heard somebody call it Old Spice Guard. It's just like the
It's
man version of that.
very strange. Like clearly, you're right. Clearly, it's a movie pitch, but why? Like, does Keanu Reeves not have enough pull in Hollywood just to say like, "Hey, I want to make this movie idea I have"?
Right.
Yeah.
So that's confusing. Yeah, it was fine, but to me, it was like a bite of food that you put on your tongue and it just disintegrates instantly. Like there was no substance to it. It was just like, oh, I'm already done reading this issue. What happened? Like it's just him punching people for 20 pages and then finding out that he's been alive for a long time.
Yeah, since the dawn of mankind. He was a caveman back in the day and remembers being born.
Which I will argue, like Powers did better. That same concept.
Yeah,
I think,
especially because that reveal was
fucking bonkers
many
and
issues into the story.
read that out beautifully. Whereas this is just like it's all
Spoilers for
shoved into this one random issue where the guy zero explanation of how his abilities work. right? Like, does he regenerate like Wolverine? Like, just like instantly he's getting his, because he dude jumps out of an airplane and just like falls to earth. We don't get to see what happens if he like shatters all the bones in his body and then reforms. We just see him next time. He looks perfectly good and he's just beating the crap out of everybody. Later, he gets burned and it takes time for him to recover from that.
Yeah.
He's still like no hair. How does he fall out of a plane and not get hurt? Like, I don't understand his abilities. It makes no sense to me. The logic of it is like gone.
Fries are the perfect food. How dare you beseech them by comparing them to a Berserker? Yeah, I don't know. It was fine. I don't care about it. Sorry, Andy.
I really didn't care for the art either. Like it could have been so much better. You know, if you're gonna have something so grotesquely brutal, you can really do some crazy detailed, awesome art with that, and make you want to stare at the page. You know, but this one is just like it's like a blurred, generic version of violence. I don't know. It's just, to me, it didn't hit.
Isn't it hilarious that we're like, you know, that comic book about the girl who commits suicide and the angel that asks words? We're like, that's the best book of the month. And then they're like, that violent movie with Keanu Reeves on the cover, that thing was garbage.
Pass. We are men.
Who would have predicted this show?
I mean, I think anyone who's seen me talk about comics ever,
Or all friends. Yeah, right. Knows our taste.
Yeah, he's Vandal Savage, Chris. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I don't need a comic book to like totally make sense. I mean, clearly I like superheroes and there's zero logic. But I guess there's a logic built in, right? Like, we understand the rules for that character in their universe, and the rules are so ill-defined, if there even are any in this universe, that I have no interest in going any further with it. Even the reveal at the end made me just go, oh, Jesus.
Yeah. So I mean, here's the difference, because or at least I praised Carmen for being kind of unclear about what's happening and kind of holding stuff back. And now you're complaining about Berserker doing the same thing, but it's because of the kind of story it is, right? Because Berserker is just everything in your face, just like pants down, swinging the meat. Like they're not trying to hide anything, where Carmen is clearly trying to do something.
Pants down, swinging the meat is going to be on a shirt somewhere. For me, I think it's what are they holding back, right? They're not holding things back in Carmen that confuse us as to what's the purpose here, or how do things work. They are holding things back in Berserker that make us go. I mean, I was constantly asking, like, okay, that wound seems to take a little while to heal. Mm-hmm. But dude jumped out of an airplane and no injury. He was fine.
You like how he held the grenade and like just blew off part
of
that
guy's up, but it didn't. He still had his arm.
Yeah.
Like, I don't. The logic of it is just a little bit baffling. And then of course I don't care about the guy at all. Like,
yeah, I don't think I like really superpowered guys being able to do anything with no repercussions. It's like, yeah, he's like, okay, well, say he's a caveman, whatever, born since the first dawn of mankind. He might be a god. He might be immortal. It's like, okay, well, who cares? Like, I don't like. It's how I felt about like Mark Miller's Prodigy. Remember Prodigy, about the spy guy?
I never read it, but I do remember
anything and everything, and just he's so smart, the most genius guy in the world, and the biggest action star, and like, I think he was like, I forgot what the character was. It was super OP'd and just got out of any problem and did anything. He's never had. There's no conflict at all. So it's like, why do I want to read this?
It was a great point. Surprising coming from Keanu Reeves, who, like, let me say, like, I'm a big fan of John Wick. Those movies are spectacularly good. But they do something so simple in John Wick 1, like that you just were talking about, you do not get in this, which is his dog gets killed at the beginning of John Wick 1.
The last thing that his wife gave him,
when she died,
immediately connects you to that character, because that is something everyone who's not a sociopath can relate to, it being horrible.
It has emotion, and he's vulnerable.
Right.
In that he gets beat up, he gets stabbed and hurt.
At the very beginning of the movie, he's dying. The very beginning of John Wick 1, he's like getting out of a car bleeding to death,
all of them,
and
he
then
gets
it jumps
injured.
back.
He gets injured all the time, he's still vulnerable. This one, he's just like an overpowered guy like Wolverine, just like, but even like more powered. Like, I don't know, man.
If you take that away, John Wick is just this character. John Wick is just a guy who's really good at killing.
Yeah.
He does not have much of a character. But because you have that association and that connection to him of this emotion point that you can say, I get why he's doing this. Oh, he's really badass. Awesome. Now I'm rooting for him. We don't have that in Berserker. It's just a guy who's strong, who's killing people, and who cares?
Exactly.
Yes, Jeff Darrow is
That's exactly
amazing.
what I was referring
And
to.
how dare you? John Wick 3 was excellent.
No, I didn't like
that
John Wick
one
3.
yet.
I was not a fan. John Wick 2 was a peak for me. It's like part 1 was the best, I think. Part 2 might even be my favorite. But that was when they realized we got a franchise and we got a big budget. We can do whatever we want. And then 3, they got rid of the creator of John Wick, the writer. And so for some reason, I don't know why they didn't bring him on for part 3 and just like changed a lot of stuff and made it silly. I just didn't like part 3.
See, for me, John Wick 1 is the best one. And then 2 is great, but for some reason it didn't connect the same way. The reason why I like John Wick 3 so much is because it's just action. Like the story's not great, but from like basically 5 minutes into the end of the movie, it's just fight scene after fight scene after fight scene, which is why you go to see a John Wick movie.
The knife scene in the beginning, that was awesome.
The knife scene is amazing.
Which, to your point, is a movie that knows what it's trying to do, right? And a movie that knows what it is.
Yeah,
it's not trying to be like this great story. It's like we want to shoot a bunch of stunts.
That's what
people are gonna get shot in the head. Be ready.
That's what Berserker is going to be in the movie. It's just going to be like madness, action, which is everyone expects from Keanu from nowadays, and that's awesome. I think it's going to be a great movie. I'm going to be first in line to see that movie. It's going to be great. But like as a comic book, there's no story there. I mean, they're trying to put a story into all this action. They're trying to, but for me, there's like. You don't really even need a story.
I know I talk a lot about Fast and the Furious, but the reason why 5, 6, and 7 are so good is because the new director who took over starting with 5 said, hey, this isn't a car racing movie series. This is a superhero franchise. And I want to start like dropping tanks out of planes and jumping cars between buildings.
And also bringing into continuity of all the other past movies and bringing the characters back in like full circle and have them all be together.
It is the Avengers.
And it's great. Yeah, it's amazing. I love those last ones.
Number 7 is so good because it's just like he just said, screw it. There are no rules anymore. They are all invincible. Let's just go crazy. And like that's what what we're saying is like it knows what it is. And it's not because of that, like they can get away with a lot more.
They went extra.
Yeah, I would almost like rather would see Berserker be a comic where there's like just him destroying stuff, but there's like he's not. I don't know. I do without the story part. They're them trying to be a story. I don't know. I'm not sure what I would prefer.
I just think he needed a flaw. Some emotional connection piece here that would make him interesting because right now he's this one-dimensional sheet. And I don't care. Thing.
Berserker 1 is John Wick 3 without the first 2 movies.
Yeah.
Right?
You need the setup,
because without seeing the first 2, John Wick 3 is just stupid. But because you have 2 movies to learn about his character and learn about his motivations and like the world he lives in, you can personally, I can excuse 3 for not having much of a story and just being action because at that point, that's what you want out of it. But
Gore Vidal brought out earlier, he said Hard Boiled by Jeff Darrow and Frank Miller. That's exactly what I was referring to when you want to have like ultra violence, but like have it be really detailed and awesome, like something to look at. Like whenever you see Jeff Darrow, like in Hard Boiled stuff or anything Jeff Darrow does, he puts so much detail into everything that you want to stare at. It's like a Where's Waldo page. You're staring at everything. It's a treat for the eyes, and you want to spend every minute looking at every page. It's so good.
Also, though, I will say if your argument is be more like Jeff Darrow or don't make a comic, we would not have any comics because that guy is like next level.
Yeah. But can you imagine if Hard Boiled was like that though? Like what the violence they're trying to portray, if it was like that detailed, like the guy's like jaw got punched off, you can see like the teeth like flying towards you, you know, and yeah, there's so much more they could have done, and this is just like
Facts.
a half-assed version of good. I don't know, man.
I mean, Chris knows us.
He does.
I can't argue with that. Really briefly, I know we're going kind of long. I want to touch on Scout's Honor because I did read 2 and 3.
Nice. How were issues 2 and 3? I only read issue 1.
Still enjoyable. I do like the series. When we had David on, our one and only creator guest on Book Club, when we had him on to talk about the first issue, I did, I wasn't just saying I liked the book because he was on. I do enjoy the book. The one thing I said about the first issue, I think he does again in these. And I think it's, partially because it is, limited by the amount of issues a publisher will give you for miniseries, but he really speeds through some sections that I wish he gave a little more room to breathe on. Like in the 3rd issue, the Kit goes up this tower to kind of hijack this thing, and it happens in 2 panels.
Yeah,
that could have been 2 issues, and it would have been interesting.
I would totally agree that that would be the exact same critique, right? That
I feel
that
like
issue 3 felt like it could have packed 3 issues in.
Yeah, I feel like each issue has those moments, but issue 3 was the one where I was like, damn, you really kind of
you're flying.
Yeah,
because the issue
is still a really cool story, and it looks great. It's fun, but yeah, I feel like that was a missed opportunity.
Issue 2 took its time a lot more, and I got a lot of enjoyment out of issue 2. Issue 3 packs in a ton of story because they do the whole competition.
Yeah,
where they're trying to find who's going to be the next scout, the next
Scout, whatever
Eagle Scout person, and it's it's Kit versus her best friend, the Scoutmaster's son, and they had just had that awkward kiss not too long ago, and now they're in the arena going head to head, and there's 3 different competitions, and they're all packed into this one issue.
And on top of that, then you put a heist at the end.
At the end, they have this whole other bit. I felt like the 3 trials that they go through could have been split into issues. But it flew through it. Did I dislike any of it? No. Every twist was really cool. The characters are developing in really interesting ways. But you just want it to slow down. You feel like you're on fast forward a little bit.
Yeah.
Greg Bearded has an interesting comment about Aftershock.
And I get it. Small publishers risk a lot by putting out any book because they're not Marvel and DC. They don't have the money from their film franchises. They don't have the money from advertisements. They depend on not even floppies. They depend on trades. And so if they can't sell a book that's exciting in 5 issues, so they don't have time to tell a slow story. It's just the unfortunate kind of way the business runs right now.
There was a good amount of time where I preferred reading Aftershock comics over Boom, and it wasn't until Boom started getting these really great writers
last year, basically.
Yeah, the last year or 2, they just really they really boomed, and and left Aftershock in the dust. And it was a shame for Aftershock because they were growing really great for a while, and then they just really cut back the releases, and they just weren't.
Well, right now I feel like Aftershock's been slaying it because We Live. They've got this. They have Shadow Doctor right now, which is phenomenal. I feel like the last few months, I would say right here at the beginning of 2021, I've been all about Aftershock, and Boom has been kind of slacking off a little bit.
That's good for Aftershock. Then I haven't read those. The last Aftershock one I read was the one by Juan Doe. He's a great artist, but the story was a celebrity with cell phone things. It had to do with technology and stuff.
I remember hearing about this one.
Not good. Bad reception. Okay. Bad reception. That was not good. The art was cool, and it made almost.
If you can find Shadow Doctor, I highly recommend it.
I saw the advertisement for the end.
Nothing like it.
This issue, yeah. Okay.
Really good. And issue 2 is great too, which was
I
a March book.
I only ever read the first issue of Jupiter's Legacy, and I don't remember it being especially exciting to me, but
I also read Gore Vidal. I read Haha issue 1 a couple weeks ago whenever it came out, and that was really good. If
yeah,
you guys
I've got 1 and 2 in my stack. I just haven't gotten to them yet.
enjoy issue 1, I didn't read issue 2 or 3. I want to eventually, but I thought issue 1 was really cool.
Well, that we've already gone about 30 minutes longer than a regular book club, so we probably should call it a night about now. Unless is there anything else you guys want to talk about first?
No, tonight I'm gonna later on be on a channel called Chill Neil. So like you're chilling, chill, and then a guy's named Neil, Chill Neil, and it's my buddy. He does a lot of different meme things, and he really highlights like meme creators and artists and stuff like that. And it's more like a late night talk show. So he does some interviews with like a lot of like sketches in between guests and things, and then a musical performance at the end, so either by himself or some friends, collaborations, and so I'm a guest. They invited me on tonight.
Nice.
So that's at 11:30. I'm going to be on there in 15 minutes. I think I'm the second guest. There's 2 interviews. I'm the second one. So probably going to go on around like 12:45 or midnight, something like that.
So you may not be awake.
Yeah, I'm super tired, but yeah, I'm trying to pull through it. But it's going to be a good time. I definitely did a voiceover on a sketch earlier featuring one of my meme pages, Pooh and Tim's. And also I guess did a song based on one of my meme pages called Slow Heavy Metal Music Playing. So that's gonna be fun seeing what they did for that. But cool stuff. It's gonna be a fun night with lots of jokes ahead. So if you're up, late night owls, head over to Chill Neil and see me chat it up and see some funny stuff.
Nice.
Very cool. I was not aware of that, Gore. Thanks for letting us know. Barry Windsor Smith, I think, is a hugely underrated artist of his time. So it'd be interesting to see that.
If you let us know who the publisher is, Gore, if you can let us know.
What you got going on, John?
I just wanted to mention there were some X-Men books. Hickman is
Oh,
still,
of course. Here, let me just.
Yeah.
Let's
I'm
do
just
that.
saying. Hickman was still good this month. X-Force was phenomenal. I think this is one of the best issues of X-Force, period. I thought that the stuff they're doing with Kid Omega is amazing. And then besides having a beautiful cover, issue 19 brings X-23 back from the vault. And I think they've been doing some great stuff on the regular X-Men title last month and the month before. So
that's what I heard too. I heard the last issue and this issue were incredible.
18 and 19 were both great.
Yeah, I got to read this for sure. I heard the synopsis on them and what happened. So I know what happens already, but man, I want to go through that adventure.
Issue 19 basically is 100 years of time in a single issue.
Yeah.
And the way they lay it out, I mean, it totally reminded me of Powers of 10.
Yeah.
Like, in a big way, because you feel like you're in this distant future. You get to see X-23 basically age 100 years.
And
really cool to see her become like a full-grown woman. She got the gray hair, and she's just still badass and killing everybody.
She had a relationship with that one guy, but he has to make it out to save the message of what they all went through in time. But like,
so cool.
Those that are left behind fighting, like when they die, they're not going to remember anything at all. So it's like that's so
they'll only remember what Sync remembers,
which is so heartbreaking for Sync, But it's so good. But there's still more time in the future for maybe something to happen again. Yeah. That's so cool. That's great writing. That's so awesome.
And set up
I gotta read that.
a year in advance, because issue 5 of X-Men, they go in the vault, and now then issue 18 and 19, you see what happened in there, and they come back, and it's a year for us, but 100 years for them. Yeah, I'm geeked on that stuff.
It's really good.
But yeah, so that's the only other book I really wanted to highlight.
Good call.
I drop my edited video tomorrow, another comic community news, so people should tune in for that, 6:45 Eastern. And then, Bearded's in the chat. I better say something about Saturday night. We're talking about the greatest movies that ever won Best Picture at the Oscars. We're going to run through some of our favorites that won the most prestigious of film awards.
If you're an American.
If you're an American, right. And I am.
What else you got?
Be careful if I link the channel or whatever.
Oh, please do.
All right, cool.
Oh, I'm on JP's tomorrow. We're talking JP. We're doing Fables. So the 10th and 11th volumes, the very middle of the entire run of Fables.
I didn't want to say live on air, but like, yeah, that was me.
Yeah.
$3.25 million.
I sold it. He bought it.
I'm going to
So-
sell it next week for $5 million because that's how the comic market is.
Absolutely. I'm okay. I already bought my island. So see, Craig's here. He was listening.
We'll all be back next week, next Wednesday on Comic Core for more potty humor and
Yeah.
not less
Comics.
thoughtful comic discussion.
Right. This was really cool. I like this format.
Yeah, man.
So next month at the start of May, we'll do the same thing, looking at the books from April. Ryan, the new guy, is here. What's up, man? So you can look for
Just
that
in time
on
for
my
us to
channel. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So we'll
We're still gonna
highlight
be
all
alternating
the
channels,
April books.
so-
Yeah. Back and forth.
And if I'm lucky, I'll have like 2 weeks worth of April books to talk about.
Hey, there you go.
Pen 15.
And 15.
Pen 15.
Okay. Unless you guys got anything else, I'll close down this old shop.
That's it.
All right. Thanks for joining us. Thank you guys for hanging out and never turn your back on the ocean, right? Okay.